Oh, that's real good.
Hey, how's it going?
It is going fantastic. Being here on the East Coast, you would think close to midnight I'd be tired. No, I am amped up. Love talking IDP. Love talking IDP with you, Roxanne. I'm glad to be down here with you down with IDP. After Dark Edition. It wouldn't be the playoffs without a little After Dark Edition, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely got to get you guys ready for about 12 hours from now, 13 hours.
Yes. You got to love this time of year. Saturday and Sunday, full slates of football. Just park myself on the couch. I already have like my ass groove and my recliner ready to go. Like it's all ready for me. Like it's been made, conditioned all season long for games today and tomorrow. Yeah, today actually, and tomorrow for the rest of the playoffs. So yeah, definitely excited. How have you been?
Busy, always busy, especially this time of year. Just like trying to think of all the desserts I got to get made and the lasagna and like, oh my God, it's all just like, this is next weekend now all of a sudden, like not ready for it, but I have to be.
Right. No, yes, same here. Yeah, we're just getting ready here for the holidays and just all the family getting together, I think I've spent more money on my dog this year. It's her second Christmas, and so just spoiling the crap out of her. And now my neighbor just got a dog, and so getting stuff for that dog. So I love this time of year. It's season of giving, and hopefully today we're going to give you some great IDP advice that'll help you through your first round of your fantasy football playoffs.
Just an FYI, I buy all my brothers, sisters, nieces, all their animals more gifts than I buy them usually.
Love it. As it should be.
Like my cats, when I had cats, they both lived out their natural lives, but they both got huge Christmases. Like, yeah, well, when you don't have kids, that's what you get to do, right?
Spoil the crap out of the pets. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
All
right. Well, Jorge is going to get you guys ready. I'm just going to lead him into some talking because I just got home a few minutes ago and it's been crazy. So first off, we're going to do some news and notes that are affect things down the home stretch here for us. First, we have Trey Hendrickson of the Bengals is dealing with a broken wrist and only expected to miss a couple weeks. Not even going on IR, or did he?
No, not on IR, just missing a couple weeks. It is unfortunate because he had he played a really good matchup against one of the tackles here for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who's been playing atrociously and letting pressures get to the quarterback, get to Tom Brady. So it's unfortunate for him, but I wouldn't drop him just yet. It's one of those things where the head coach and the defensive coordinator were saying during the course of the week, well, we could put like a club on his arm. We could, put a cast over his arm. We can make sure he get back out there. So it sounds like they're not overly concerned in terms of like if they need him down the stretch, they'll activate him at some point. Whether or not they do put a cast over his arm at some point, I don't know. The point is, if you have the bench space, I would not just drop Trey Hendrickson over this for the fantasy playoffs.
Sounds good. JOK placed on IR. Are we expecting Deion Jones to rescue this?
Yeah. So Sione Takitaki, like we talked about last week, went on IR with an injury. JOK went on IR, I want to say on Wednesday or Tuesday. And the only constant in this linebacking core, which could be a good thing or a bad thing, is Deion Jones, wearing the green dot, being the one who's calling the plays on the field. I mean, volume is going to be his thing. It's really the big question is like, who's the next person up after Deion Jones, and is that somebody that you're willing to pay attention to over the course of the next 3 weeks for the fantasy playoffs, let alone Deion Jones. Little foreboding. Maybe we'll get to that in a little bit. So maybe they're going to be made a case for Deion Jones for fantasy managers. But in terms of JOK, hasn't really lived up to the billing ever since coming out of Notre Dame for the Browns. He was heralded as being the silo and the sideline linebacker who's really great in coverage, really great at tackling, just basically like the Swiss Army knife that you wanted to be, kind of like an Isaiah Simmons in Arizona. And quite frankly, neither has really lived up to that billing since coming out of college. Maybe that's just a product of too much pressure being placed on their shoulders so early on in their careers, not getting acclimated to the basics before they're thrust into like one of these utility roles. For whatever reason, it just hasn't worked out for a number of
Yes.
cases, especially for fantasy. So
Yeah.
it's an interesting situation in Cleveland right now.
Zion Brown to miss more time?
Yeah, he's actually gone on IR after this note was made. So he's actually gone. Luke Masterson would be the next person up there, but again, fantasy playoffs, you're not starting a Luke Masterson. It's Denzel Perryman in Las Vegas, and that's it. There was some hope here that Divine Diablo could be back in time for the fantasy playoffs. It's not looking likely this week, according to the head coach. So it's Denzel Perryman time. It's hammer time, and that's who you can roll with this week. I mean, the guy's been playing like a top 25 linebacker for IDP purposes in terms of scoring. So volume is king, just in every single position for fantasy football, including IDP.
So if you need somebody in a pinch, Denzel Perryman. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. He's somebody you can put in there just because, like I said, the volume had been there. Or is definitely going to be there with Jayon Brown there and vacating the tackles there. Again, like I said, Luke Masterson would be the next person up. But I would rather have Perryman in my roster and lose this matchup than take a gamble on Masterson. I just don't think the upside is there for Masterson at all.
What about Pete Werner?
So Pete Werner, this season has been playing lights out. The Ohio State product, I believe it's his first or second year, just playing lights out. Then he goes down to injury for almost a month, a little over a month, and then Caden Ellis comes in, and you're just like, oh, okay, well, it's just going to be the Demario Davis show. Which, hey, I'm a huge fan of Demario Davis. No slight to Demario Davis, but Caden Ellis came in and rocked it for over a month now. And now we're getting reports that Pete Werner is set to return potentially this week against the Atlanta Falcons. This is concerning. Not so much if you're a Saints fan and you're wanting to have a good game, real football wise. I think both having Werner and Ellis on the field at the same time is great for your defense. IDP, it makes you wonder. Pete Werner's been out for a while. Does he siphon snaps and opportunities away from Caden Ellis? Do they just thrust Werner back in there and put Ellis, on the bench? It's a little dicey there for IDP managers, something to pay attention to as we get closer to kickoff. Obviously, if Werner is, held out another week, you're obviously firing up Caden Ellis and letting him bring the attack. Either of these guys are capable of helping you propel yourself to that next round of the fantasy playoffs, especially if you have like one of those rosters where you just have one IDP spot. Either of these people can get you the high tackle for that you're hoping for. So definitely a situation to keep an eye on, though.
Quinnen Williams left week 14 with a calf injury, game time decision, but did not practice all week.
Yeah, this sucks. You want to talk about for IDP, when we think about defensive linemen, we're thinking about our defensive ends or edge rushers who are, tasked with getting to the quarterback. Well, Quinnen Williams has been doing it the hard way. He's been, beating blocks as a defensive tackle left and right, he's been very Aaron Donald-esque. And I don't think that gets enough press in the media. It definitely does not get enough press, I feel, for IDP, just because he is a defensive tackle. And defensive tackles by nature are very rare when it comes to productivity. This guy is getting like sacks after quarterback hits, after tackles for a loss, like repeatedly every single week, getting you high double-digit fantasy points and fantasy pro scoring every single week. To see him go out last week it sucked. I mean, it's been 2 weeks in a row, whether it's been a calf injury. There was a game where I saw him walk off the field where his arm was hanging, and you thought, oh crap, maybe he just separated his shoulder or something. Like, he's always getting banged up, yet he always comes back and plays. And now you have this did not practice all week. This is super concerning. Game time decision. I don't think he's going to play, which is unfortunate because they have it sucks. It sucks for fantasy managers. I have him in a lot of my rosters. Trying to scramble to find a replacement for him. That's a big void to fill.
So, yeah, that's tough if you're kind of counting on that and it comes down to a game time decision.
Yeah, I mean, and here's the thing, like the offensive line for the Lions, who the Jets are taking on this week, their outside guys, their tackles, phenomenal, fantastic. They've done a great job building up that offensive line in Detroit out on the outside. Mm-hmm. It's that interior that they're susceptible to a lot of pressures, which would have been great for Quinn Williams. So you're really at a disadvantage this week. Somebody, if a Jonathan Allen or a Deron Payne were available in your league and you're in a defensive tackle only league, that would be somebody, or those would be people who I would insert. Even then, those are probably rostered given the level of productivity these guys have had. So you really are hurting and scrambling to find backups of backups at this point. If you've been leaning on Quinn Williams in leagues where you have specific defensive tackle roster spots.
That's stressful to wait for.
Yeah.
Especially this week.
I know. Yeah. But you know what? It's fitting. It's fitting how this has been fantasy football all year this year. It's been super. There's always an injury. Yeah. No.
Another week that sucks.
It's truly become less a game of excitement, more of a game of attrition. Yep. And you just, you try and survive it as best you can.
Yep. Especially down the stretch right now. Jeez.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, that's all the news. You don't have any more?
Nope. That's all the major news heading into this week. So, I guess we consider ourselves fortunate that there's not more news.
Right.
But these are big names that are, they're affected in the news this week.
Right. All right. Well, let's move on to your picks then.
All right. So last week I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Are you going last week first?
Yeah.
Okay. DeMarcus Lawrence, DL 39 with 8.5 points.
Yeah, not bad. Got you right close to that DL3 mark. I was surprised how productive the interior defensive linemen for the Cowboys were playing last week against Houston. One, I didn't expect Houston to actually make it a game against Dallas, so that was in and of itself very shocking. But no, he was serviceable, and I think we have to jump back a couple weeks when they took on the Colts in that offensive line and how they basically took him out of the game completely. This was a nice bounce back for him this week. Should I go after going to my picks for this week, or should we?
Khalil Mack versus the Titans.
Yeah, so this is going to be fun. Last I checked, and maybe you could, and please correct me if I'm wrong. Khalil Mack is kind of good. He's kind of good. He's kind of good at what he does. You know what I mean? I don't know if this is shocking news that I'm throwing at you right now, but I say that very sarcastically. But Khalil Mack is an all-pro edge rusher. He doesn't need excuses to be looked upon as one of the best pass rushers in the NFL. For fantasy purposes, however, he's always been somebody who's been very matchup dependent because offensive linemen key on Khalil Mack, thus kind of taking him out of the game. Going to be hard to do that this week against the Titans. The Titans' offensive line has been playing atrociously all year long. And tackle Nicholas Fryer, whatever. Who cares? He's been allowing 12 pressures, 2 quarterback hits, and 2 sacks over the past month.
He's not going to be around long.
He's not going to be exactly. Exactly. He's when you look at pass blocking efficiency, Pro Football Focus has him graded as the 60th best offensive lineman, which I don't think that's really a good ranking there. So Khalil Mack should definitely get his versus the Titans. The Titans got eaten alive last week by the Jaguars and their edge rushers. So it should be a good week for Khalil Mack managers or people, and here's the beauty of it. In really shallow leagues, just because he doesn't have that high floor week to week consistency, he actually may be on your waiver wire.
Right.
Which perfect timing, right?
Right.
For the fantasy playoffs. So
absolutely. That could be the one, I was looking at your picks. And that could be the one that I think could push some people over into the next week right there with
Abs-
that offensive line, with what he does. Again, situational play. This is his situational play right here. This is where he's going to go crazy.
I mean, this is the perfect opportunity right here.
Agree.
The next person here is Gregory Rousseau versus the Dolphins, which I believe is the 8 p.m. game on Saturday, if memory serves me correctly.
Yep.
Earlier in the season, he was crushing it. When Von Miller was there, he was just, he was right there neck and neck with Von Miller in terms of high levels of productivity. Things have kind of dipped after a while. Von Miller goes out with the ACL / meniscus / whatever else was wrong with his knee injury. And we saw Rousseau kind of battle his own injuries middle of the season. Last week, he returned to form, and I mean the pass rushers for the for the Bills, just completely annihilated Mike White of the New York Jets. Just decimated.
Is an understatement.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know if you saw like the highlights of the hits this guy was taking. Like, it was.
I don't know how he came back so many times.
Did you hear, by the way, that he went to 10 different doctors this week trying to get them to get one of them
kidding me?
To clear him to return?
Wow.
And all 10 of them were like, no. And so the coach is like, we'll put Zach Wilson in, which fantastic, right? But no, he came back to form last week, Rousseau, that is, against the Jets. He had 2 solo tackles, 2 assisted, a pass defense. Just 15 fantasy points in IDP in FantasyPros IDP scoring. Going against right tackle Brandon Shell, who earlier in the season, horrible protecting Tua's blind side, was benched. Somebody else came in. I say somebody else because that somebody else didn't last very long because he wasn't doing too well either. All right, so Brandon Shell comes back, right tackle, the past couple weeks. Since week 11, has allowed 10 pressures. He's literally like one of the lowest graded performing offensive linemen in all of the NFL. So Gregory Rousseau should definitely keep this hot streak going for you. And you want to talk about a defensive line play that can help propel you into the next round. Both Mac and Rousseau have that going for you this week. So definitely people that you should be inserting into your lineups with 100% confidence.
And we're not worried about the weather making an impact at all. Game.
I feel like the worse the weather it gets, the better it is for both of these plays, especially
how it works for the defensive.
Yeah, exactly. Right? We got Faith here joining us. Y'all are up.
Hi, Faith.
We're just getting started.
Still.
And I had a bunch of coffee, like around 8 p.m. So I'm good to go. I'm ready to go for the next show. This is gonna be a long weekend, Faith. We got football all weekend long. So, but thank you very much for joining us. Yeah. Switching over to linebacker here.
Wait. We didn't talk about last week. Your Alex
Anzalone. Yep. So LB27 finished as a fringe LB2, LB3 with 12.8 points. Mm-hmm. He has been since I want to say week 10 a top 25 linebacker. Okay, well, he was 27, so he didn't quite make 25, but close enough. Mm-hmm. So he played very well last week. I was pretty happy with that pick. This week, however, we got a couple picks here that one is kind of like with IDP circles has just become a household name this year, and the other one I don't think is given enough props here, who should also be considered a household name. Let's start with that one first. Frankie Louvu, linebacker, Carolina Panthers. When I go
about him a few times.
We have, and the fact that he's probably still available in a lot of leagues that are shallow leagues is a little disconcerting. And to be honest with you, there are leagues where it's he's riding the bench because people have other alternatives. Well, I bet you where they have other alternatives, and I don't see why that is. He's such a great linebacker. He has the 9th best run tackling efficiency according to PFF. Since week 11, he's been playing lights out against the run, has a very low missed tackle rate. What am I saying? I'm saying he gets to the guy and he hits him. Yes. You'd be surprised how hard that is for a lot of players to do. You would think it makes common sense. There's somebody I go to hit. My job is to go hit them. Let me go hit them. Guess what? They can move too. So the fact that he's able to get onto the ball very efficiently, is fantastic. He's been averaging 15.4 points since week 11. I saw here on Twitter that Julian Love, the safety for the New York Giants, is being, for defensive purposes, being considered to be the comeback player of the year for defensive players. And Frankie Louvu is right there behind him. I think it should be the other way around. Louvu's been playing so well. And going against Pittsburgh this week, what makes this such a great play, I believe, is not just because of the tackle upside, it's because Pittsburgh's offensive line is just really, really bad. And I think that's an understatement. We've been saying that all season long. So not only are you getting the tackle upside here with Frankie, you even have his ability to get behind the line of scrimmage and make plays, whether it's getting to the quarterback, getting a sack, or breaking up the plays in the backfield. Just a lot of tackles for a loss, you name it. I think the tackles for the loss and maybe even a sack this week are now outside the realm of possibility. So a big play or two versus Pittsburgh on top of this amazing tackle floor that he's had, especially since week 11. Just he's definitely an LB2, but I would not be surprised he creeps into LB1 upside this week. The other linebacker who I was saying earlier a few minutes ago that he's kind of become a household name has been Jack Sanborn of the Chicago Bears. Everybody thought when Roquan Smith left Chicago, like, well, they can't possibly fill the void in the linebacking department in terms of a nose to the grind tackler. Well, they did. Jack Sanborn has come in and has played lights out. He's been averaging close to 19 points ever since week 11. What gets you to average that high of a point per game, total? It's how well you're tackling. Tackling for IDP is your floor. It's what gets you where you're at every single week. He's had a great solo tackle to assisted tackle ratio of 26 solos to just 7 assisted, which is fantastic. The Eagles will look to basically run all over everybody, including the Chicago Bears this week. I feel like the time of possession is going to be heavily on Philadelphia's side, which is great for Sanborn because volume is king, and the more opportunities he has to make plays, obviously the better for his upside. But what makes him even better, better besides just being a run stopper, he can do it playing in the middle of the field. He's good sideline to sideline. He's good at shedding blocks. I mean, you could literally go on Twitter and type in Jack Sanborn and go to videos, and it's like highlight play after highlight play after highlight play. There was somebody on Twitter who's like, I'll stop posting videos of Jack Sanborn the minute he stops doing something impressive. And
I feel like the Eagles are going to try and test him this week. Just because they run so much. And their quarterback, not only do they have running backs, they're going to play, but their quarterback also takes off. And so I think they're going to try. I think they're going to try and test him this week, but I don't think they're going to get past him. Well, I think they're going to try a lot, though. That's their game, of course, right? I mean,
sure.
What we're doing right now.
Totally agree. And you know what? I hope they do.
Right. That's good for us. Right?
Yeah. You know what? Test him.
Right.
Give him opportunities to make plays on the ball and make plays on the running back.
Very much
or Jalen Hurts. Yeah.
Exactly. So, whether it is a running back or the quarterback, I think they're going not test him. I think they're going to try and test him, but I don't think you can. That's my whole point here. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
It's going to happen, but I don't think he's going to let up too much. I don't. I just have faith in him. I think this is a great pick from you, honestly.
And let's think about this. You bring up a very good point of like the quarterback and Jalen Hurts and being able to also do the design runs. Well, he's practicing against somebody every day who kind of plays like Jalen Hurts and Justin Fields, who should be back this week. So it's not like he's not going to be used to dealing with, a super talented quarterback who can also run. So I'm kind of giddy. I'm giddy about this. I'm giddy about this pick. I feel something good's happening here. Anyhow, let's switching to defensive back. Last week, this is where things went off the rails. I was really expecting, like I said, and I'm sure a lot of you out there were, the Dallas to just dominate Houston, control the time of possession, keep that defense on the field for the Texans, and let Jonathan Owens try and stop the run.
Right.
obviously that went on its head sideways. And so he finished as the DB 58 with 8.3 points. Not ideal. This
Not
week,
horrible.
yeah, it's not ideal. It's not ideal. Ideally, what does ideally mean? I mean, I want double digits.
For sure.
Double digits, absolutely. So I got 2 picks for you here this week. One is kind of one that you may not be thinking of, or IDP managers may not be thinking of, but I have a rationale for it. The first one is Rodney McLeod, strong safety of the Indianapolis Colts, going against the Minnesota Vikings. And here's the thing, and I wrote about Rodney McLeod over one of my articles over at Fantasy and Frames, and that is, IDP, and Roxanne, you can be a testament to this. It's not always for IDP. For what makes somebody valuable for IDP is not always the player who's really good at real football.
That's our secret.
Well, that's what you get after dark. You get this
right.
Right.
Our secret's out.
Sometimes it's the players who are not really good at real football that are good IDP plays, just because they get picked on and they're given more opportunities to make plays. So special behind the scenes IDP analysis here at Are You Down with IDP After Dark? And that's where, so that's kind of where I see Rodney McLeod kind of falling into. Since week 11, when targeted, he's allowing the 9th best NFL passer rating among all safeties in the NFL. So what am I saying? Quarterbacks love to pick on this guy when they see him in coverage, which is great. That's great for tackle upside. That's great for passes defense plays. Rodney has had more solo to assisted tackles in that time since week 11. He's by far the most targeted defensive back in coverage on the Colts, just because obviously his high passer rating allowed. So again, opportunity. The Colts announced earlier today that Kenny Moore, one of their cornerbacks, is going to be out this week. So you're running out, and Kenny Moore is kind of been a liability also in coverage also. So the Vikings are running out of liability players to pick on. So it's kind of like, all right, Rodney, well, you're kind of the last liability standing. We're going to pick on you a lot. So I feel like with the solo to assisted tackle ratio, which gives him a solid floor, it's not a high floor. Mm-hmm. That's not what's going to do it for him this week.
Right.
It's going to be the passes defense. It's going to be
the targets.
The targets. Yes. The plays on the, So he's going to get picked on. And I think you're going to get those little splash plays here and there that are going to propel him into a good DL3 flex. At the very most, a low DL2. But definitely somebody, if you're in leagues where you have multiple DB spots, or you have 2 DB spots and a flex, there's so many variations with IDP. He's definitely a good DB3 player for you this week.
If you need somebody, he should be available too, right?
Absolutely. He should definitely be available. 100%. Yes, agree. The next person, and this is not my Commander's bias coming into play here. This is my Commander's.
Are you sure?
Yeah, this is my Commander's fandom. This is my Commander's fandom coming out and being like fantastic. Which, by the way, let me make a segue on this really quick before we get into this next player. I saw on the Commander's Instagram page that they have created a note, like a sick note template, where it's like, dear insert name. So insert name, employee should be excused from work on Monday because they're playing in a divisional matchup on Sunday Night Football and they may be too exhausted to perform their duties at work. Signed, the Washington Commanders. I'm totally screenshotting that and sending that to my boss first thing in the morning on Monday. And I'll let you know next week how that worked out.
I'll let you know if I have a job.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see how that works out. But it's too good of an opportunity not to take advantage of. That notwithstanding.
So it's Cameron Curl, obviously.
Yeah, we're
the Giants. The Giants, they started out good. They started out decent.
Yeah,
right?
Their record was great. Yeah.
Right. And then they have sucked.
Yeah. Well, they've
been past few weeks. I mean, it has went to hell. I even heard somebody talking on the radio today, like, do you think they'll replace Daniel Jones next year? And I'm like, Really? I mean,
right.
really?
Yeah.
I know he's not good, but he's not horrible. And it fell apart there for them.
Well, I feel like the infrastructure of the team was not really tested too much, and so they were able to do what they could do. I think you've seen the offensive line kind of getting taken to task in terms of the defensive matchups they faced recently. And Daniel Jones has been getting a lot of pressure. And for fantasy purposes, that's great because you know what that means? That means he gets to take off and run and get you those yardage points. For real football purposes, that's not great because he's not super efficient. He wasn't super efficient when he took on the Commanders a couple weeks ago. He got you Daniel Jones. I know this is offense, but he got you 17 points, but that mostly was from rushing. And here's the thing. Normally he plays well against Washington, but the Washington defense just kind of stymied him last week, stymied the running game for the Giants. And Cameron Curl was a huge part of that. Again, 2 weeks ago versus the Giants, he had 9 solo tackles, 3 assisted tackles, tackles for a loss, close to 18 fantasy points. This game versus Washington got flexed to the Sunday Night Football game. This is a big game. This is a big game where big stars are made, and for those people in the mainstream media who are not familiar with Cameron Curl, you will after this game.
I agree.
And so he's
we're going to hear his name a lot.
Yeah, the linebacking core ever since Washington lost Cole Holcomb to IR. John Bostic has stepped up. By stepped up, I meant taken Cole Holcomb's place in the linebacking core. He hasn't really lived up to the performance. And so basically Cameron Curl has been playing closer to that linebacker level, acting as a de facto linebacker. So that's where that tackle upside comes into play. What really has been amazing the past few weeks, though, is he has a very low missed tackle rate of just 6%. So ideally, that's where you want your missed tackle rates to be. Obviously lower, the better, right? When you get a person who has a missed tackle rate of 12 or 13%, or you're getting into the double digits, you're praying, you're hoping that they're on a very bad team who's on a defense that's on the field a lot. Because if you're barely on the field and you have a high missed tackle rate, you're not doing jack squat for your fantasy roster. You're not doing jack squat, period, for real football. So Curl has just been a stud, and I guess that's the understatement of understatements. But yeah, so those are my picks for this week. Starting back at DL Edge, you got Khalil Mack, Gregory Rousseau, and then for linebacker, Frankie Louvu and Jack Sanborn. And then I'm taking a gamble here with Rodney McLeod with DB3 upside, and then Cameron Curl DB1 all the way.
I think your Rodney McLeod pick, I'm really hoping that's a big one for you.
I did.
I really do. When I saw it, I was like, oh.
Yeah, it's and I preface DL3 flex. I mean, the upside, I'm not putting too high of expectations on here, but he could be somebody that could definitely surprise you if you need if you have a deep IDP roster, starting roster. Yeah, so Joe's not with us this week, and Nate is not either. But if you'd like, I can run through Nate's picks. He was kind enough to put in his picks for the show.
He really is kind. He really is.
He is. Nate's a great guy. He's fantastic. He is.
And I was really excited last week when we tested his Chiefs. I was hoping he would be here this week. Yeah. I know we didn't win, but we got 4 freaking touchdowns.
Yeah, isn't that convenient that he's not here this week? He had to go to a wedding on a Friday.
Right.
Convenient.
Who does that in December?
Exactly.
We had Chandler Jones last week for his DL, and he was the DL 10 with 15 points.
Yeah, so that was very good. What's up? I'm sorry.
Do you know what he did last week?
I don't have his exact stats on me. No, I don't know. Sorry. I think we'll know, however, what Azeez Ojulari's stats will be after this week. I think this game again on Sunday Night Football, Giants and Commanders. This offensive line for the Commanders is no bueno. Ojulari should have a really good game. He has had over the past 2 games 3 sacks, 10 pressures. He's got a win rate versus offensive lineman of 21%. For those who are not familiar with win rates. It's basically you have your defensive lineman, you got your offensive lineman. They go mano a mano. Can the defensive lineman get past the offensive lineman? Cool. That means you get a good win rate. Anything above a 20 is fantastic. So he's right there. And the Commanders are allowing 2.84 sacks a game. Just love it. Love that play. Love the upside there. Should be a good.
I'm excited for this game, actually. I think it's going to be a great game.
I'm as excited as I am about this game. I have friends who are Giants fans who are talking all sorts of trash right now towards me.
Oh.
And
be the bigger person.
I have to be. I have to be because we all know that when it comes to fandom, it's all about us, not the actual players on the field who actually determine the outcome. It's us because we're superstitious as nobody's business.
Right.
And for me, and I say that very sarcastically, for me, if I talk trash ever, like, oh, my team's going to win, I always lose. So
I feel the same way, and I don't anymore.
Yeah,
don't.
Now once the game's over and then it's all.
Oh, it's on.
It's on.
I'm not nice, and I will mute you after I send my messages.
Love it.
I don't care what you have to say. He had Devin Lloyd last week for his linebacker, who finished 49 with 9 points. Again, not horrible, but not what Nate was hoping for.
Right. Yeah. So, this week and we alluded to him earlier during news and notes, Deion Jones.
Yep.
At the end of the day, he's who's left. Going against this Ravens team that we saw them get back on the ball as far as running it. No Lamar Jackson, Tyler Huntley should be playing again this week. They really try to do a good job of taking the pressure, taking the responsibility out of Tyler Huntley's hands, kind of balancing the offense. You saw J.K. Dobbins get worked into the running game. Surprisingly, Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins are kind of splitting touches equally in terms of, and then performing equally. And I think that's what the Ravens are going to want to do against the Browns. The Browns have been very susceptible to the running game on defense. Deion Jones, he's going back to that secret recipe here for IDP purposes that we're just letting you know on Are You Down with IDP After Dark? Not so much an example of a great player making great plays, but a not so great player just getting a lot of opportunity to make plays. And that's where Deion Jones, which, hey, who cares? As long as we get the points, as long as we get the tackles, we don't care where they come from. Just get us the tackles, get us the points. So he should have definitely a solid tackle for this week for the Cleveland Browns against the Baltimore Ravens.
His defensive back sucked last week. Cameron Bynum
was not optimal. No. To be fair, when looking at his, what was it, like, I think it was like 6.3 or 5.3 points. There were like 10 defensive backs who got 5.3 points. So there's that. Okay, I'm sorry. I thought I could make some type of excuse here. No, that was a whiff. I've had my whiffs. He's had his whiffs.
We all have.
It is what it is. But I'm curious about this play. Really excited for it. Andre Sisco of the Jacksonville Jaguars. I did not know this, that Dallas has actually been very friendly in terms of free safeties, getting a lot of fantasy points. I would have thought the strong safety, the traditional creep up closer to the line of scrimmage people, trying to stop the run would be the plays here at the safety position. But Sisco has been making splash plays recently. They've allowed 13 plus points to the free safety position 10 times on the season.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts, right? I would never have.
Hell no.
I guess it kind of makes sense in the sense of Dallas, ever since Dak has come back, has been one of the highest scoring offenses. Like they're passing the ball a lot, so I get that. But I didn't think it was going to be to the point where they would be the free safety coverage guy would be playing so well.
It just doesn't happen, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, Nate really did some research digging into this, so definitely trust his process here. So, yeah, I'm loving his picks of Ojulari and Deion Jones and Andre Sisco. A lot of upside plays, a lot of good solid floor.
A lot of options for you if you need help this week.
And we were talking about Quinn and Williams, the defensive lineman situation. Ojulari might be available. He's one of those players who's like teetering on the line of like is rostered versus was used as a bye week fill-in. Well, this could be a playoff injury fill-in right here. I really like the Ojulari pick this week, so that should be good for y'all this week from Nate. Yeah.
And then we have our lowered expectations.
Yep, I'll make this short and sweet. And I mentioned it earlier. How much does Pete Werner play if he gets thrown into the game this week versus the Falcons? Again, two elite players splitting time can only split, their productivity. So this is definitely one of those situations where you are looking at the injury reports, you're looking at the final designations, you're keeping your notifications on from Adam Schefter or Ian Rappaport or whoever you follow on fantasy Twitter, trying to get your latest news and notes heading into the matchup. If it's Ellis and they say Werner's out, you're firing up Ellis. You don't lower your expectations. But if they both say Werner's going to play, I would be concerned that they kind of work him in and the floor that you had been expecting from either of these guys, I don't think is going to be as high as you may think it would be. So that's my concern there. Let's be honest, Roxanne. If somebody's playing that you've been writing all year long, you're happy with that. This is not a situation of like, I could find better options elsewhere. There are no better options elsewhere. You have all the options that are better have been rostered, or you're playing for upside because of injury. You're combing the waiver wire for upside due to injury.
Based on opportunity.
You said it right there. Caden Ellis and or Pete Werner, if they both play, are my lowered expectations for the week. And JOK was mine last week, and he finished as the LB 56 with 6.8 points. So that was pretty good for a pick. So pretty happy about that. Not happy that he's on injury reserve though. That sucks. Right. But yeah, that's the winning advice I got you for round one of the fantasy playoffs, and Nate's got you. And we're here. It's here. It's time.
Crazy, and it sucks at the same time, because I know just February is going to be here before we know it, and God, then it's 6 months of just madness.
Yeah, exactly. We're all waiting for our first drafts, and then it's
right.
Yeah, it's no time like the present. Enjoy it. Enjoy the games. And it's
enjoy the football that we all love so much.
Absolutely,
and that's all we can do. In the next 6 weeks are the best time.
Exactly,
and we can see the best football.
Damn right.
All right. Well, this has been the latest episode of You Down with IDP After Dark from Club Fantasy and Fantasy and Frames. Make sure you're following Fantasy and Frames on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Fantasy and Frames. Be sure to check out their website, fantasyandframes.com, for all your IDP needs. And don't forget, they do Dynasty Redraft and DFS too, and they're awesome. You can follow Club Fantasy on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Club Fantasy FFL. The URL is clubfantasyffl.com. DFS, player props, sports betting, and our start sit column confidence plays began hitting the site this morning.
Nice.
For Nate, at Nate Marcum on Twitter, at Joe Zollo, at Joe_Zollo, Jorge B. Edwards, and me at F Queen Roxanne. Thanks for joining us on another edition of IDP After Dark.
Good luck, Roxanne. I hope you win all of your matchups this week.
I hope you do too.
All right, y'all. Have a good night.